damsel of Dusseldorf, where are you? Katharina, we've got guests. It appears that her grace has departed the property. Why do I call her my grace? Oh, my good man. You did not know that she was of noble stock? Oh, yes. She had a knight in her family several centuries ago. Hence her father's name of Hans von Bora. They even have a family crest. It is that of a lion standing upright with a raised paw in front of a gold background with a knight's helmet and a peacock feather sticking out. I always tease Katharina about her nobility, especially when the nobles come by to debate me on theology or try to stand up with John Echo of Ingolstadt. Oh, and I look at her and I say, Katharina, you and your nobility, and then she gives me that look. And I know I need to be quiet. Let me tell you a little bit about my Katharina. She was born on the 29th of January 1499 on the estate of Dusseldorf in Saxony, in the village of Sale. Her mother died when she was still quite young. Her father remarried, and he had many more mouths to feed. So at the age of 5, he took Katharina to a cloister school where she would be fed, clothed, and educated. She would learn how to read, how to write, and do arithmetic. My lady is quite educated. Then at the age of 10, her father took her to Nipching Convent, where she became a proselyte, a candidate to become a nun. They had a rough life. At 1 or 1:30 in the morning, they would be awakened, and they would cross themselves and then put on a white gown and then go to the chapel where they would sprinkle holy water on themselves, genuflect, and then approach the altar and say prayers. That was matins. Then came lauds. Then they were allowed to go back to bed and sleep until 6 in the morning. Then they would get up for prime. And then there was sext, and then trace, and then finally vespers. And the last worship was compline at 7 in the evening. Each candidate or proselyte had to humble themselves before God by doing a menial task. Katharina was assigned to the garden, and she tended it very well and impressed the abbess, the mother superior. Then in 1514, she passed her novelette and became a nun and married, so to speak, to Christ. As is my nature, I question these vows that I took as a monk and as a priest, and she as a nun. In fact, I wrote a treatise called The Spirituality of the Monastic Vows in the Judgment of Luther. This was snuck into the convents and the monasteries. The monks and the nuns read this. then they would go and challenge their leadership. I got in trouble for that. I wrote another piece. This one was an open letter to the German people. I was encouraging the nobility as well as the parents of those that were in the monasteries and the convents as to what was really happening there. And that there was really no backing from the Holy Scriptures as to what the vows should be. You think I got in trouble for the last one? You should have seen this one. It was more public. I've received a letter in March of 1524. This letter was requesting help to escape the convent of Nipsching. There were 11 nuns. They had gone to the Mother Superior and asked to be released from their vows, and she categorically said, no. They wrote a letter, snuck it out, got to me, and thus began the planning of the Great Escape of 1524. Here was the plan. We knew that Lehart Cope, a fishing merchant, a fish merchant, he would be delivering fish on the Saturday, April 4th, the day before Easter. After he had delivered the fish, he was to drive around to the back side of the convent. And out snuck 11 nuns who got into his cart, some even into the barrels where the fish were. He told me after he caught up with us and he released the nuns, he told me that he had been stopped by a road guard. Halt! What do you have in your cart? And Lehart looked at me and laughed and said, I asked him to simply breathe. Take a deep breath. Oh, keep going, keep going. We smelled them before we saw them. I, to this day, still do not know how many baths it took to get rid of that stench. Well, I was responsible for finding husbands for these nuns. I found 10 of the 11 husbands. That 11th had eyes for a young man, and he for her. But the family stepped in and bribed the young man not to take a runaway nun. So she then had eyes for only one man, me. Well, I did not want to get married. You see, if I got married, my bride would then become a widow, because I could be captured at any time and taken to the stake, and that's not fair for a woman, is it? So I did not want to marry. I remember having this discussion with many of my friends. And they would always remind me of what I wrote about priests and marriage. I remember going to my father, and he and I had a discussion about marriage. He encouraged me to get married. It was only later that I learned why. He wanted grandchildren. Well, can you imagine? We got married on the 13th of June in a very small ceremony. 2 weeks later, we had a big party, and we let the world know that we were married, and it started right away. Oh, you will bring the destruction of the world because you two are married. A runaway nun and a rogue monk. No, you can't do that. King Henry the VIII from England commissioned a playwright to write a play about a rogue monk and a runaway nun having incest. After all, brother and sister. Oh, can you imagine what happened when they found out that she was pregnant? We were bringing the Antichrist into the world. This child will have 2 heads. Yeah. When Hans was born, he did not have 2 heads, and he was not the Antichrist. I remember my mother coming to help Katharina. She didn't have enough milk to feed Hans. I remember praying, "Oh Lord, I'd give you 100 florin if you would just give us some milk for Hans." Well, Hans ruled the house for 18 months. And then Elizabeth came along. We named her after John the Baptist's mother. Elizabeth was with us for only 9 months. The Lord saw fit to take her home during the plague of 1527 in Wittenberg. Now, our next child was Magdalene. I called her Liebchen. We named her after Katharina's aunt. Liebchen was so joyful. But we lost her at the age of 13. The only consolation I have is that I know that my 2 daughters are with God in heaven, their heavenly Father, and He is taking care of them. Well, we now had Martin, who was born on the day before my birthday, the 9th of November. Ah, what fun. Katharina was still nursing him when she became pregnant with Paul. And our last child was born, and her name is Margaret. I called her Margaret Tula. She is a joy in my life, as are all my children. I have talked with her godfather, Pastor Jacob Provost, that if I should be called home, that he would make sure that she has a proper suitor, and he has assured me that he will do so as part of his charge. Now, I will tell you that the lady who was married to Christ, who is now married to me, for I looked at that and thought, you know, if she is good enough for him, then she should be good enough for me. Don't you think? Well, let me tell you what kind of mother she is. All our children know how to read, how to write, and do arithmetic. They know how to play instruments, musical instruments. They know how to grow a garden. They know how to take care of themselves. She is a wonderful mother. And she is a shrewd businesswoman. Remember I called out? Did you hear that too? Hold, let me. Katharina? It's not her. It must have been that old goat out there. Not Katharina, but the old goat. Katharina, when they see her coming to the pig market, everybody tightens everything up because they know she's going to do a deal. Which reminds me of Proverbs 31. This perfectly describes Katharina. Let me read to you what Proverbs has to say. Here we are. She selects wool wool and flax. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. She opens her arms to the poor. Her husband is respected at the open gate, at the city gate. She makes linen garments and sells them. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. This perfectly describes Katharina as a woman, a mother, and a business lady. She is so concerned with the church that she allows me. I did hear something. Katharina! She's still not home. Her Grace will be here shortly, I know. It must have been the old cow this time. Well, she allows me to go on church business, and she allows me time to write my hymns and to write my works and my sermons. She is so wonderful in taking care of the whole household while I'm working. Whenever I'm away on church business, I always write home to the Morning Star of Wittenberg, Katharina. She saves my letters. Let me read to you several of these letters. The first one, the letter I want to read is about how we're coming together with other church bodies. And this is what I wrote to her. To my kind, dear Lord, Katharina Luther, a doctor and preacher in Wittenberg. Grace and peace in Christ. Dear Sir Kate, you should know that our amiable cloaky at Marburg has come to an end, and we are in agreement on most all points, except that the opposition insists on affirming that there is only simple bread in the Lord's Supper, and on confessing that Jesus Christ is spiritually present there. Today, the Landgraf is negotiating to see if we could be united, or whether, even though we continue to disagree, we could not nevertheless mutually consider ourselves brethren and members of Christ. The Landgraf works hard on this matter, but we do not want this brother and member business, though we do want peace and good. I assume that tomorrow or the next day we shall depart from here and travel to our gracious Lord in Schleswig-Holstein, where his electoral grace has ordered us to go. Tell Mr. Palmer that the best arguments have been in Zwilling's case that a body cannot exist without a location. Therefore, Christ's body is not in the bread. This sacrament is a sign of Christ's body. I assume that God has blinded them so that they had nothing else to offer. I am very busy, and the messenger is in a hurry. Say good night to all and pray for us. We are all still alert and healthy and live like kings. Kiss Liebchen and Hansel on my behalf. Your obedient servant, Martin Luther. This next letter came from when we were dealing with the Augsburg Confession. And she was so interested in what we were saying to the emperor. And I remember writing to her, and I said, to my dearly beloved mistress of the house, Katharina Luther at Wittenberg, personal. Grace and peace in Christ. My dear Katie, this messenger hurriedly passed by, so that I was unable to write much. However, I hope that I myself shall soon come, for this messenger brings letters from Augsburg, that the negotiation in our case have come to an end, and that there are now waiting the emperor's decision and verdict, that everything will be postponed until a future council, for the Bishop of Mons and Augsburg are still standing firm. And the Count of Trier and Cologne are also not willing to consent to strife and war. The others eagerly wish to rage and expect the emperor to finally to command this. May God's will be done. If only there will be an end to this diet. We have done and offered enough. The papals do not want to give a hair's breadth. Thus someone will come also, will teach them and give in and yield. I wonder why Hans Weiss did not accept the psalm. I would not have expected that he would be so choosy, since it is an important manuscript. I am hereby sending the rest of it, and I am glad that George Rao is getting the business. If Mr. John Palmer and others approve of the manuscript concerning the keys, then go ahead and have it printed. There's no reason for taking a vacation just to please the devil. I am really amazed that someone has told you that I am ill. You see with your own eyes the books that I am writing, for I have finished the prophets except for Ezekiel. I am working on now, and on a sermon on the sacrament, not to speak of the writing of letters and whatever else there needs to be done. I could not write any more now because of being hurried by this messenger. Greet everyone and all. I have for Hansel Luther a fine big piece of sugar, which we bought in Nuremberg from a pretty garden and store. With this be commended to God and pray. Deal with Palmer according to Palmer's and Weller's advice. 8 September 1531. This last one. It deals more with the two of us. And it also deals with me being a little sick. To my kind, dear Lord, Lady Catherine von Bora, Mrs. Dr. Luther at Wittenberg, grace and peace in Christ. Dear Sir Kate, I know of nothing to write to you since Master Philip, together with all the others, is coming home. I have to remain here longer for the devout sovereign's sake. You might wonder how long I shall remain here, or how you might set me free. I think that Master Francis will set me free, just as I freed him but not so soon. Yesterday I drank something which did not agree with me, so I had to sing, "If I don't drink well, I have to suffer," and I do not like that. I said to myself, what good wine and beer I have at home, and also a pretty lady. You would do well to ship the whole cellar full of my wine and beer, and of your beer, to me here, as soon as you are able. Otherwise I will not be able to return home because of this new beer here. With this I commend you to God, together with our young ones and all the members of our household. Amen. The 29th July, 1534, your loving Martin Luther, Doctor. She saved all these letters, and our love is on display. Ah, my good man, let us go to the garden, where we can take a look at her garden and how she conducts herself. And remember, she learned how to garden when she was but a child. So let us head to the garden right now. I'm not Martin Luther now, although I may slip my R's, but yeah. I will tell you that, and I apologize for the technology, but that's the way you go with it. It's better live than being recorded, because you can
cheat and do all kinds of stuff that way. And I like to be with the people. You give me the energy to do this. It was, as you had said in your introduction, it was a cold January when I realized that this was the 500th anniversary. And so I was sitting security at the preschool. My pastor normally would be doing that as well as writing his sermons. But he was up in Denver with his terminally ill wife. And so I started researching, trying to find a play that we could do, or I could do, but all the plays I found on Martin Luther, to include the one that won a Tony Award in 1953, they were multiple characters. And no one in my church wanted to get up and act with me. I still to this day don't understand why. But, so I started to research. I talked to my pastor, and I started to research. And I started to write. Oh, it was a joy until he got a hold of it. And then I had to rewrite. And then we revised, and we rewrote, and we researched. And the story about Frederick the Wise, I did it. Frederick the Wise and protecting Martin Luther in the dream. I came across that, and I told Pastor about it. He was like, no, somebody's making that up. And I looked at it and said, okay, if I find 2 more sources, I'm putting it in play. I found 5. So I think that is a true story, that actually took place. Well, this was in 2017. In 2019, 2020, he asked me to go to lunch with him. Okay, I'll go to lunch. Yeah, I'll pay. No, I'll pay him. So we had that argument. He ended up paying, which was right. So anyway, we're there, and he goes, and I remember, it was a Friday, we were at Red Robin because he wanted fish. And the chairman of our elders board was with us. And my pastor looked at me and said, you know, Dwight, there's more to Luther's story than just his life. What do you mean? Well, you know, he changed the liturgy and his writing of the hymns. Okay, so what are you telling me? You need to write another act. Oh. So I started and I wrote Act 2, which is called Luther Sings. And it's about how he changed the liturgy, and the congregation sings the hymns that he wrote. His first hymn, and Here a new day shall be begun, was 12 stanzas long. That was his first hymn. We only sung 4. It's an interesting, but it talks about the 2 monks that were burned at the stake in Belgium for teaching the New Testament and the gospel. So he wrote that as a martyr song. And then I tell all the stories to the 5 hymns that we sing in there. Okay, so I do that for a couple of years. Dwight, let's go to lunch. Okay. We went to lunch, and he said, you know, Dwight, there's more to Luther's life than his story and or how he changed the liturgy. Okay, like what are you talking about? And he said, you know, he was married. I said, yeah, he was married to Kitty. He goes, are you sure? So I went and I started researching Katharina. And he was afraid that there wasn't enough material. What? Of material on that woman. And she was never called Kitty, except for by one person, June Munn, and she called her Kitty My Rib. And that was from a 1958 book. In all of my research, I never saw a letter where he called her Kitty. Never. So it's always Katie or Your Grace, Lady of the Pig Market. All the names that I shouted out looking for her, those are names that he called her. So I wrote that. Okay, I'm done. You know, I've got 3 acts, and I'm going on tours now, and this is really great. I'm excited. And last Thursday before I left, Dwight, let's talk. Yes, Pastor, what is it? Well, you know, Dwight, there's more to Martin Luther than his story, his changing the liturgy, or his wife. Pastor, what is it? Well, what about the 95 Theses? Wouldn't it be interesting to hear Martin Luther's take on the 95 Theses? All 95? Yeah, we can work that. Well, I looked at him and I said, well, you know, I'm writing this other play with Dr. Martin Chemnitz, who will be doing a lecture as if he was in Wittenberg. And the first act, which is done, it's about the Augsburg Confession. The second act is going to be about the Magdeburg Confession. Anybody know about the Magdeburg Confession? Good. When I come back, I'll teach it to you. Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, I can't tell you.
You can leave.
All right.
The Magdeburg Confession, I'll tell you the quick story. The Magdeburg Confession happened during the siege of Magdeburg. Emperor Charles V had laid siege just after Luther had died in 1546. 6 months later, he and Pope Paul IV had conspired to go to war against the people of Saxony and the Lutherans. They captured everything except for Magdeburg. Magdeburg was laid siege for 1 year. They never capitulated. They wrote the Magdeburg Confession, and in the Magdeburg Confession, the first part is just like the Augsburg Confession. Solid spiritual. The second part deals with government. And so I want to bring that forward and let people know and teach that to them. An interesting fellow during that time frame by the name of Matthias Flavius was a Croatian who got caught in Magdeburg. He had studied under Luther and under Chemnitz and under Melanchthon. But he got stuck in Magdeburg, and so he helped write, but he was never an ordained pastor. He did not sign the Magdeburg Confession. So, that's what I'm writing. And he knows that. But he wants the 95 Theses. So when I get back, I told him, when I get back, I don't even want to talk to you. Because I'm going on tour around Lake Michigan in October. I get to go home for 1 week. Go home and refresh the missus and then back to the job. Or wash clothes, which I do. My wife, oh, today is our 46th anniversary. And, oh no, we're going to do something. I'm going to put you guys on FaceTime with my wife, and I'd like you to shout out happy anniversary. I hope she didn't go to the Powerpuff game that my granddaughter is playing in, but who knows what will happen. But anyway, she was asked by one of the other ladies in our ladies' guild, Debbie, who's going to do the wash since Dwight does the wash? It's okay. I have 20 pairs of underwear, so that we don't need to worry about that. Shifumi then turns around. She's Japanese. She turns around, she looks at her and says, and how are you going to eat? Because he also cooks. And she said, Shifumi, what are you having tonight? And she said, octopus and squid. And Debbie went, Suzanne, what are you having tonight? she's being taken care of, is what I'm saying. But if you don't mind, when we get done with question and answers, I would like to put you on FaceTime and see if she would respond with you guys saying happy anniversary. Okay? All right. Let's see. Any questions for me? Yes, sir.
There was some mention of you having been in the Air Force.
I was. When did that happen? Yes. I am a second generation Air Force. My father was in the Air Force. He was in the Navy during WW2, and then he went into the Air Force, and then I went into the Air Force. And now my son is a lieutenant colonel at Virginia Beach, Virginia. There has been a Donald Dwight Johnson since 1940s, every decade in the military up to today. Donald Dwight Johnson IV probably won't make it. He's something else. But who knows? But yes, I was in the Air Force. I did not fly. I was a support pew. That's Air Force terminology. But I was support and had a lot of fun with it. Oh, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Air Force. They offered me another squadron in my 21st year, and it was in Japan. My daughter had just gone off to college. My son was a junior in high school, and he had just settled into this high school. That was his third high school that he had been in. And I said, I can't do that to my family. And so I decided to go ahead and retire. And I became the executive director of USA Table Tennis for a year. And then I taught high school, and I was a principal of a middle school. And then I got called by the Air Force Academy, hey, we know you're still in the area. We need help at the Arnold Hall Student Center with the cadets. And so I went up there. The year before I got there, they had only 8,000 cadet visits to the Student Center. That's one cadet visit per semester. That was it. When I left Arnold Hall, we were over 36,000 cadet visits a year. And all it was just sitting down and listening to what the cadets wanted. I knew who my customers were, and that's how that happened. And then I have, which is interesting, here are the similarities between myself and Martin Luther. In no way, shape, or form am I saying I'm a theologist. No way, okay? Martin Luther had Meniere's disease. Remember I talked about how I was getting dizzy and I had lazy eyes and all that? He has Meniere's. I have Meniere's. I have an inner ear disease that causes vertigo, nauseousness, and unbalance. You may have even seen me catch myself a couple of times. Another similarity. On April 4th, 1524 was a Saturday before Easter. And that's when the Great Escape took place. On April 4th, 1953, my mother had a great escape. That was me getting out of her. It was a Saturday before Easter. So there's another similarity. The second letter that I wrote, or that I talked about, the 8th of September, which is today, which is 491 years ago, that my wife and I, our anniversary is today. So there's a lot of similarities as I go through things, and I find it just blows my mind. So, yes, ma'am.
What is your history being an actor that brought you
To do this? I have a speech theater degree, a bachelor's degree. I taught theater in high school. I taught speech in high school. I have directed community theaters. I've acted in community theaters throughout my Air Force career. And I have come to the conclusion that there are so many different types of learners. You've got your audio learners. They only learn by hearing. You've got your your sight learners. They do that by reading. You've got your demonstrators, those who do stained glass windows. They demonstrate that way. And so I thought, well, you know, we could use theater as a teaching tool. And so that's why I decided to go this route. I also have written a couple, I'm deaf in this ear, and this is where the Meniere's is. But what is, and I have a cochlear implant in there, and I put what's called an osea on the back of my head, and I can hear on my right side. Right now I can hear you on this side. I can hear you here, but not here. And so I've written several deaf stories. One is about a pioneer woman who came out of the Connecticut School for the Deaf, learning sign language in the 1820s, and her falling in love with a mountain man up on the Colorado Mountains. Another one is about a deaf baseball team, how they were signing, and that's what we see in third base, right? Or the umpires. There was actually an individual by the name of Dummy Hoy who played for the Cincinnati Reds in the 1890s. He did not know if there was a strike or if it was a ball. So he would look at the umpire. What are you looking at me for? It's, 2-1. Well, they then invented the strike sign and, not doing anything for the ball. Or you're safe or you're out. And then the third base doing this. Well, I wrote about a baseball team from the Ohio School for the Deaf, how they played the Indiana School for the Deaf and beat them because they were using sign language. Because at that time, the schools were being taught that you had to read lips and speak. And there was a Dean, this is fiction, Dean Helbig is the name of the character. He decides that sign language is the way to go, and I don't want to use the oral method. I want to use this sign method. So I tell that story, and then I've got a couple of others. So I do a lot of writing. I love research. Oh, I love research, and so that's what causes me to be that actor. I look at this as an educational platform. So, yes, ma'am.
You've got a list of things you researched, and you only have like 5 books here. I imagine you researched more books than those.
Yes.
How did you choose which one you focus on?
Oh, how did I choose which ones I used? I think I was inspired by Martin Luther. If obviously the debate in Leipzig, I had to use that. I just found so much on his life that I was able to bring in. In the script itself, it is footnoted with where did I get this. And the reason I do that, the reason why I did that, is so that when I send the script off to pastors, they're able to see that this is where he's getting it from. Boland's book, Here I Stand, is a very strong, researched book. Of course, Luther's works, that was immensely. And that's where I found the letters. That's where I found his old hymns. And then for Katharina, I didn't think I was going to find that much, but there are so many books out there on her. It was incredible. And they were all basically telling the same story, so I would just take and lift out of the concept and then write it from that standpoint. And so if I found something that had more than one source, then I would use that. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Where does Salem Evangelical Lutheran Church?
Well, it depends on where I'm from. No, I'm from Colorado Springs, and it's in Colorado Springs. In fact, it's just off the Garden of the Gods. And so we're real close to the mountain. What I can tell you about the military support group is that we are here to help those that are in wells and or in L's that are in the military. Too many times, and I experienced this when I was in Wichita Falls, Texas, we didn't have a Wells church. The closest Wells church was Flower Mound, which was about a 2-hour drive to north of Dallas. And Pastor Tim Flunker would come up on a monthly basis, and we had like 4 or 5 Wells families right there in Wichita Falls. And so we would gather together. Well, that's one of the things. The other thing about Lutheran Military Support Group is we have a clinic that we do every October, every fall, on PTSD. And many of the gentlemen and the ladies that attend that have not forgiven themselves. I will tell you that I have, whenever I am watching a YouTube video of a guy returning, or there is a final flight, I get choked up. I've had to go into houses and knock on doors and then inform them that their loved one has passed. Not an easy thing to do. Then I have to take care of the family in that manner. And so the Lutheran Military Support Group is there to support active duty, reserve, guard, veterans, anyone who is crying out for help. We're there to try to help them with that. And so we'll get counseling for them. We've just formed a partnership with a Christian counseling service. In fact, we have a church that was in crisis over a gentleman who took his own life down in North Carolina. And we authorized $750 for a special counselor to go and talk with the church. So that's just some of the things. Or I've gotten requests for doing Veterans Day ceremonies, and we'll help support that as well. I remember one time one of our Wells members in Southern California, his house burned down. And so we were able to send him some money to help him get started and take care of his family. That's what we're doing. And so does that answer your question? If you want more information, get with Brad Price. He's a member of this church. He's our CEO and president. I don't like him. That's not true. We really love what Brian is doing for us. He is awesome. He is really a cool guy. We really like him. We have our meeting on Thursday. I don't have a play Thursday night. I've got a meeting at 1:30 in the afternoon, starting with the LMSG Board of Directors in Port Orchard, Washington. That's why tomorrow morning, 800 miles to Billings. And then from Billings the following morning, 650 miles to Moses Lake, Washington. And then Thursday morning, it's 150 miles to I'm driving. The set fits in the back of my little Ford Escape. Pardon? Oh, I will be. Yeah. I've got a lot of prayers going on right now for my safety. And I would ask you guys to do that for me too. You want to tell my wife? Okay. All right. Let's see. What's her name again? Oh, that's right. There it is. Okay. Yeah. Let's see if she'll even answer. Hey, I have some people here that have a message for you.
Happy anniversary!
Did you hear that?
Well, tell me what they said. I'm at the ball game.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I have to put up with, okay? They said happy anniversary.
Hold on, let me move.
She's at the ball game. How's Josie doing at the ball game?
I'm at the football game.
I know you are. Okay.
Okay, now I might be able to.
Okay.
Now I might be able to hear.
They said, okay, do it one more time. 1, 2, 3.
Happy anniversary!
Did you hear it? They said happy anniversary. I'll tell you some stories on this one. So anyway, how's Josie doing?
Well, Josie's not playing. She was in charge of the cheerleaders, and they were awesome. They did the halftime thing, so Danielle has to tape it. It was really, really adorable.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to finish up Q&A here, and then I'm going to go to put the set away, and then I'm going to go to bed, and then I'll be up early in the morning. Okay? All right. I love you too. 46 times. Bye-bye. Well, turn off. Why won't you turn off? Thank you. Turn off. Oh. Drive me to drink, I can't drink. Can you imagine I'm a year's patient? So, anybody else have any other questions? Well, thank you for letting me come and do this. Sorry for the technology, but we were trying to record this so that those that could not make it tonight would be able to see it. So that didn't work, but you guys got to see it, and now you can tell them. And I may be in Bloomington in a year to do Act 2. So if you'd like, I might maybe come down here. Yes, piggyback on that. I'll let you and Joyce take care of that. All right?
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you. Now get out of here so I can break the set down.
Say one more thing. Your son is a student here at MLC.
Oh, Pastor Pitcher is. Oh, okay.
Your son is a student.
Oh, I know Pastor Pitcher. He should probably come back to your boy. Yeah, Port Orchard. You want me to tell him anything?
Tell him James some real case.
Exactly.